Today, we live inside seconds. Alarms, timers, deadlines, notifications. Time presses down on us, cuts a day into tiny fragments, and constantly reminds us that we are running out of time. But in the Middle Ages, time was experienced very differently. It wasn't counted. It was lived. The vast majority of people had no clocks, no pocket watches, no wall clocks, not even a clear concept of an exact hour. More than that, exact time was almost useless. Life did not demand precision to the minute. It followed nature. The day did not begin at 7 o'clock or 8:30. It began at sunrise, when light entered the house, when the rooster crowed, when the cold loosened its grip. That was morning. Night did not arrive by schedule either. It came when the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, and the world slowly sank into darkness. Time was not linear. It was cyclical. Sunrise, work; sunset, sleep. Week, season, year. There was no feeling that time was running away. It simply flowed, like a river you were standing in. Clocks, when they existed at all, were rare and usually found in monasteries or on city towers. They did not show minutes, only canonical hours, the times of prayer. The bell rang not because it was 10 o'clock, but because it was time to act, to work, to pray, to rest. For a peasant, time was measured by events, not numbers. After sunrise, before midday, when the sun stands above the forest, before the evening bell. These were precise markers, because everyone understood them. In winter, the day was short and life contracted with it. In summer, the days stretched, and so did work. No one expected the same rhythm all year long. People adapted to time rather than trying to dominate it. That is why a medieval person did not live with constant haste. He knew if something was not done today, there would be tomorrow. If not now, then it was simply not the time. Time was not an enemy. It was the background of life. But this was only the beginning, because beyond day and night existed another, far more powerful dimension of time, sacred time. And it was this dimension that shaped how people understood the past, the present, and the future. Beyond day and night, sunrise and sunset, the Middle Ages had another dimension of time, sacred time, and it played a central role in how people experienced life itself. Sacred time did not belong to humans. It belonged to God. It could not be accelerated, paused, or controlled. It could only be accepted. Life was divided not into hours and minutes, but into holy cycles, fasts, festivals, saints' days, periods of repentance and joy. The year was not a blank line of 365 days. It was filled with meaning. Every stretch of time had its purpose. The bell was the main time-keeping mechanism of the Middle Ages. It did not merely announce the time. It set the rhythm of life. A bell could signal the start of work, the end of labor, the time for prayer, alarm, death, or celebration. One sound, and an entire town or village shifted together. This created a sense of collective time. People lived within the same rhythm. No one fell out of sync. You ate, worked, rested, and prayed at the same moments as everyone else. The church calendar shaped how people perceived the past and the future. The past did not disappear. It returned every year through the same festivals. Christmas, Easter, and saints' days repeated again and again, binding generations together. Time did not move away, it turned. The future did not provoke anxiety. It did not demand constant planning. A person knew spring would come, the harvest would arrive, winter would follow. There would be feast, and there would be fasting. This certainty created inner stability. Sacred time also gave meaning to suffering. Illness, famine, death. These were not seen as chaos, but as parts of higher order. When time does not belong to you, You do not blame yourself for what you fail to complete. This shaped a special relationship with the present. The present did not need to be optimized. It needed to be lived correctly, not faster, but more faithfully. That is why a medieval person rarely felt that time was being wasted. Every day had its place within the larger structure of the world. Clocks might have been absent, but the meaning of time never was. But over time, everything changed. When humans decided that time belonged to them, not to the world, life began to accelerate. And with that acceleration came something the Middle Ages barely knew: the constant feeling that there is never enough time. In the Middle Ages, time was not an abstraction, but a living, tangible flow that governed every second of life. People did not divide the day into hours and minutes, as we do today. Their day was measured by the sunrise and sunset, the crowing of roosters, and the ringing of bells. Time was cyclical, not linear. The changing season, festivals, and religious fasts dictated the rhythm of work and rest. A farmer knew that in spring he had to plow the fields, in summer, sow and water, in autumn, harvest, and in winter, store grain and care for livestock. Each year was a repetition of the previous one. Each day, part of an endless cycle that people could not alter. In cities, the situation was somewhat different. Mechanical clocks began to appear for the first time, but they still did not measure time with high precision. Local bell towers became people's clocks. The bell ringing marked the beginning of services, lunch breaks, and the end of the working day. The sound of the bell was perceived as a signal to act, not as a number on a dial. People learned to feel time with their bodies by changes in light, smells, animal behavior, and weather. Time was closely connected to the rhythms of nature and everyday work. Religion played a huge role in the perception of time. Each day was filled with prayers and church rituals. Monks followed a schedule known as the canonical hours: morning prayers, midday readings, evening chants. For them, the day was strictly structured, every minute subordinated to divine order. In secular life, knowing these rhythms was also important. Peasants planned their tasks to work while it was light and to observe religious holidays. Cycles of fasting and feasts created a sense of an internal calendar built into the body and mind. But an interesting feature of medieval time perception was its flexibility. Time was not a relentless machine as it is for modern humans. One could linger over lunch if work ran long, or postpone a celebration due to bad weather. At the same time, morning always came, and the sun waited for no one. This created a unique balance. People learned to listen to nature, follow the rhythms of their bodies, and observe the world around them. Public clocks, bell towers, and monastic routines shaped collective time perception. When a bell rang, the entire town or village paused simultaneously to begin service or rest. Therein lay the social power of time. It was both an internal feeling and an external regulator. People could not ignore it without consequences, because survival, crops, health, and order depended on following these rhythms. For a peasant, the day began at dawn. He rose early, lit the fire, fed the livestock, and prepared for work in the fields. Summer sun provided long days, and winter days were short and cold. People noticed these changes and adjusted their habits. Time was also measured through astronomical observations: moon phases, star positions, solar and lunar cycles. This knowledge was passed down through generations, helping to plan sowing, harvesting, hunting, and fishing. Interestingly, the perception of time influenced architecture and everyday objects. Bell towers were built tall, so that their sound reached the whole village. Hourglasses and sundials helped organize work in workshops, markets, and monasteries. Even meal breaks and sleep rituals were integrated into the natural calendar of the day. Thus, medieval time was alive, flexible, and at the same time strict. It shaped thinking, habits, and culture, subordinating human life to the rhythms of nature and religion. People learned to sense minutes and hours not through numbers, but through events, sensations, work, and observation. Their day was a harmony between external cycles and internal perception, and the understanding of time became an important tool for survival and adaptation. Understanding how our ancestors lived in harmony with natural rhythms can teach much to modern humans who have lost touch with the natural flow of time. In the Middle Ages, life and time were one. Every event had its place in the overall symphony of the world. This understanding of time made humans part of nature, not its slaves.